Man, can you guys believe that this thing is 8 years old? Hey guys, it's Cyanize here, and today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch. Or rather, the send-off to the Nintendo Switch. I don't know if you guys care about the date that this video came out, but this video came out a day before the Nintendo Switch 2 dropped. And needless to say, I'm a little scared. Yeah, sure, the same console is the same thing, just with more power, but it's still a whole new console generation that I'm just not ready for. While it is scary moving on to a new generation, I do appreciate finally being able to play my games at 120 frames. I think that's going to be really exciting. But we're getting a little off topic here. The Nintendo Switch Uno. Yeah, what a run. What a run this thing has been. I mean, how do you make a video like this? How do you send off a console in a way that's both meaningful, funny, but also optimistic for the future? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how I want to structure a video like this, but in true Nintendo YouTuber commentary fashion, we're going to go over the entire history of the Nintendo Switch from 2017 to 2025, aka right now. Both the wins and losses of this console to see if it truly did succeed. With that all being said, let's get into it. Who the hell names their kid NX? So if you guys don't know, the NX was kind of the code name for the Nintendo Switch. They actually made a tweet saying, hey, are you guys excited for the official reveal of the NX? So it was public information that it was the code name for the console, but I don't know. I think it's just kind of funny seeing Nintendo straight up calling it the NX, you know? Well, you don't see developers just calling their projects by their code names out in public. That's something you see in the data mine or like some file leaks, you know? Now, you guys might have noticed that this video is really long, and there's a good reason for that. The Nintendo Switch does in fact have games and features and all this other stuff. And so we have this hat right here with a bunch of YouTubers listed here who all got something they want to talk about on the Nintendo Switch that they liked a lot. And we're just going to draw at random here, and whoever gets picked gets to talk about their favorite thing first. Oh, Sarcastic is going to talk about Metroid Dread. That's a pretty good game.
With the release of the Switch 2, I decided to highlight one of my favorite gaming franchises that Nintendo has ever released. Starting all the way back in the NES era, it's of course the hit game, Metroid. As some of you may know, during the 2010 era of Metroid, not a lot of games were released, and truthfully, not a lot of the games were that good. With releases like Metroid Other M, Metroid Prime Federation Force, and I think the only other game releasing in that era was the Metroid Blast game on the Wii U. Truthfully, it was not looking good for the series. The only other game that released during that era before the game I'm about to talk about was Metroid Samus Returns, which was a pretty successful remake of the second game in the series. But besides that, Metroid had just been waiting for Prime 4 to release. And that really did kill the series for a while. With just mediocre game releasing after mediocre game, it was truly looking like the end of Metroid. But then, on E3 2021, we got the reveal of Metroid Dread, baby! Aw yeah! Generally, this is probably my favorite 2D Metroid game ever released. The mechanics are fun as hell. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear actually, but the mechanics were fun. It was a new breath of life in a series that was just waiting for a new game to release. And with Metroid Prime 4 only getting a teaser trailer at the time, Metroid Dread was like rain in the desert. It literally a river in the desert moment. If you weren't around for when Metroid Dread released, like as in you didn't play it or saw the trailers, Metroid Dread was the new 2D Metroid game that released around the time that had brought in some new mechanics to the series. Not only did you have a new map to explore with new abilities such as a grappling hook and the ability to climb walls, but now you had these robots that were chasing you, called the Emmy.
Hello, motherfucker.
Essentially, they're robots hunting you down for your abilities that you got at the end of the GBA game, where you fuse with like the XL enemies, you know, the ones that like were taking over and corrupting everything, and made like the evil Samus. It's basically they're after you for that. It's really fun, stressed as hell. Trying to avoid the Emmys really did bring a new sense of dread, pun intended, to the series. And honestly, it brought life back into the franchise. Immediately after it released, they also dropped, I think it was the remake of the first Metroid Prime, which goated ass game too. Don't get me wrong, I love the Metroid Prime series as a whole, but Nintendo did it. They brought Metroid back from the dead, releasing 2 straight bangers back to back. And now, with the release of the Switch 2, we're also getting Metroid Prime 4 finally. We even have gameplay trailers of it now. If you told me back in 2020 even, since that's before Metroid Dread was announced, that not only would we get a new 2D Metroid game, but eventually gameplay trailers and a release date for Metroid Prime 4, I would just think you were like joking with me. But now, thanks to the Switch, we have that reality, where not only is Metroid doing really good for itself, we have a new game to look forward to on the Switch too. So, generally, as short as my segment is, Metroid Dread really did bring a whole new life into the game that was missing in the 2010 era. Like, seriously, I cannot recommend playing Metroid Dread now, even if you're not a Metroid fan, because of just how revolutionary and fun that game is. Like, seriously, the Emmy, there are some situations where I swear they auto-lock onto you. So you really have to plan out your moves, and it got my brain just high rolling to get out of that situation and run away from the Emmy without being seen. One last thing about Metroid that I almost forgot to mention, but it also introduced a lot of new concepts like a parry ability that generally, like I said, revolutionizes the game. If you're not only a fan of Metroid, but Metroidvanias in general, please do pick up Metroid Dread. It's, like I said, the best in the series of 2D games, and with the release of Metroid Prime 4 and the Switch 2, what's better to do than check out the game that revived the series essentially. Thank you Cyanize for letting me collab in this video with him. I appreciate that so much. I know my segment probably isn't going to be the best one in the video, but generally, thank you Switch 1. Hopefully Switch 2 isn't going to flop with how bad the sales numbers is so far. And that's my closing statement. I'm Stinks. Bye bye.
And then of course we got the official overview trailer for the Nintendo Switch, as well as the developers and the heads of Nintendo going out to talk about the console and how it basically features the DNA of every single prior console before it. And I'm not sure how to entirely explain it, but watching it made me feel so giddy and excited. It was like a fresh start for Nintendo, a reboot if you will. And needless to say, it worked. A lot of people were very excited about the concept of being able to play your games both on the TV and on handheld. The only problem with this, however, is that we had to wait till March 3rd to get our hands on this console, and I'm sorry, but Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World was not going to hold us over until then. Yeah, a lot of people forget this when they do a retrospective on Nintendo's history. Nintendo was still supporting the Wii U and the 3DS, and so we got games like Yoshi's Woolly World, or Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, or Fire Emblem Echo Shadows of Valentia. That game is really good, by the way. It is a shame that pretty much nobody played it because it came out April, a month after the Nintendo Switch came out. That's insane to me. But going back to the Nintendo Switch itself, we got an insane lineup of games this year. I mean, a lot of people like to hail this as one of the best launch schedules for a console ever, and to be honest, I have to agree with them. There was something for everybody here. You had your funny little gimmick game with ARMS. You had a brand new 3D Mario game with Super Mario Odyssey. You had Fire Emblem. Well, not a proper Fire Emblem, but a Fire Emblem. You got your Splatoon 2 for the multiplayer freaks. You got your Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for the RPG freaks. Oh, and oh my god, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but Nintendo's E3 in 2017. Yeah, remember E3 back when we used to have that? Yeah, a lot of you youngsters probably don't remember that. But E3 was like Christmas for gamers. It was awesome. They brought together every single major publisher, and they all just showed off every single cool little thing that they were working on. But yeah, Nintendo's E3 2017 was insane. We got a new Metroid Prime 4 that is finally coming out now. We got a brand new Yoshi game. Rocket League was coming to the Switch. Some other things that I'm probably forgetting. I'm reading the Wikipedia article right now because I don't remember. But needless to say, it was a good direct. I definitely remember that. And that's kind of about it in regards to Nintendo's 2017. There's not really too much to talk about. I mean, I could talk about the Joy-Con drift. Do I need to explain how horrible it is? Actually, yeah, I'm going to explain how horrible it is. Oh my god, you had to pay like $70 for these controllers. $70 a pop with these controllers, and they would drift all the time. Now, granted, Nintendo did offer free repairs, they just never advertised it, but if you did send in your Joy-Cons to Nintendo, they would fix it free of charge. But oh my god, you shouldn't have to do that. I mean, thank you for making it free, but that's like beating the shit out of me and then putting a band-aid over my wounds and then saying, hey, at least I helped you out. Like, no, you didn't. You shouldn't have beaten me up in the first place. Sorry for that little tangent. But yeah, for 2017, that was kind of about it. I mean, yeah, the Pokemon movie, I Choose You, came out. That was pretty cool, but that's not really Nintendo related, but I just thought I'd bring it up. All right, intermission time. Let's pull another name from the hat here. We have... The hell is a Picross?
The Picross series of games, starting with Mario's Picross back on the SNES, was a series of games essentially designed around filling out a box with numbers on the side. It's a puzzle game series. It makes a lot more sense once you actually start playing it, but it's kind of just like Sudoku or other games like that. The Picross series was arguably perfect for a console like the Nintendo 3DS. The touchscreen on the bottom really allowed you to Picross really easily. So, the transition to Nintendo Switch would always be a bit tough. While the 3DS had the Picross E-Series, which it had 9 releases of, it also had a lot of collaborations with different Nintendo franchises like Club Nintendo Picross, Pokemon Picross, Zelda Picross, and unfortunately the Nintendo Switch didn't really get much of that. The Picross S series for the Nintendo Switch was a pretty good series of Picross. We got 9 entries plus a few collaboration spin-offs like Picross S Genesis and Master System Edition, which was a Sega collab, Picross S Plus, which was a compilation of the E series from the 3DS, Picross Namco Legendary Edition, which was like Pac-Man, and then Doraemon. So yeah, we got those, but we also got a few other collaborations, including Kimono Friends Picross, Picross Lord of the Nazarick, which was a crossover with the Overlord light novel series, Picross X, Pickbits vs. Uzuboros, which was like Picross but zombies are trying to kill you and you need to do the Picross fast or they kill you, Picross Largiart Grimoire. I don't know what this shit is. Picross Records of a Shield Hero collab, and Picross Ju Fute Rodden's Guide for Pixel Museum, a collaboration with a HoloLive VTuber. So yeah, interesting overall. I don't know, it feels like the 3DS was really when Picross was like at its peak, you know? We got like Zelda themed Picross, Nintendo themed Picross, Pokemon themed Picross. And like, while Bandai Namco and Sega are cool, it's not Nintendo. We don't get Mario in it. We get like Sonic, which who cares about that guy? But yeah, overall Picross been pretty good on the Switch, but could be better.
Anyways, though, we move on to 2018. Now, I would argue 2018 is when Nintendo got really serious. You know, the lineup this year wasn't as great as 2017, I would argue, but like the quality, I would argue, was really cool. I mean, yeah, sure, you got a bunch of ports in 3DS games like Bayonetta 2, Tropical Freeze, WarioWare Gold, Luigi's Mansion remake on the 3DS. What the fuck? Why is this not on Switch? But for every Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey announcement, there was a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate just around the corner. Yeah, yeah, that's a new Smash Bros. You know, I think it's absolutely insane that we started the year off with a mini Nintendo Direct that didn't really do that much, only for them to have in their back pocket, they secretly had Super Smash Bros. Cooking. They knew what, those devils, they knew what they were doing. But outside of Smash, we also had Kirby Star Allies, which was another 2D Kirby game a lot of people weren't the biggest fan of. But you know, it was really cool. It was a really cool game, and it had some great music and great fan service. But then we also had our first mainline Pokemon game on a console. Technically, if you don't count Sword and Shield, but we're gonna get to Sword and Shield later. We had Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, which was a remake of Gen 1. Yeah, to say this was a bold decision would be a bit of an understatement. But I also did see where they were coming from with this. You know, there was a lot of Pokemon Go players, and a lot of them are Gen 1ers, for a lack of a better word, and don't know any other Pokemon outside of the first generation. So let's make a game specifically for those people. Why not? Oh my god, I almost forgot. Dude, we had the introduction of Nintendo Labo and Starlink Battle for Atlas. Man, those two games are kind of weird. Obviously, they're kind of weird to group them together, but I grouped them together because Nintendo Labo was like cardboard. You could play mini games with cardboard. There was like VR. It was so weird. And then Starlink for Battle for Atlas was kind of Nintendo's new version of Skylanders. It's kind of weird because we already had the amiibo. It was so weird because you could like build a ship, put it onto your controller, and play the game using that ship that you just built. Like, it's a neat concept, but unfortunately this came out in 2018 right after Skylanders stopped really being relevant. But it was a really cool idea, and it was really nice to see Nintendo continue to collab with Ubisoft right after Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle did so well. It is time for another hat pull. We have Stripe the Squid. He's going to be talking about the 3D Kirby game known as Kirby in the Forgotten Land.
Kirby's had a really great run this century. Like, there's no particularly bad Kirby games, where it's just kind of like a 6 out of 10 jump scare. There is, however, one problem with Kirby games. That being, their great run is really missing a Z-axis. Also, you can hurt Waddle Dees. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Kirby in the Forgotten Land came to fix all of that. After 3 decades, finally Kirby got his first 3D platformer. That alone would be enough. They built on a lot of what makes Kirby great. While copy abilities are significantly less than normal, they make up for that by letting you upgrade them to become even stronger and do various different additional effects. Best one is Ice ability, letting you freeze your enemy solid. I love cheating with Arena. I don't feel bad because Silly Dillo is a cheap cuck. The other big addition is Mouthfill mode, where Kirby's abilities go from getting the ability to control elements and stop time, to allow them to become stairs. Guys, that might be the best game ever. No, but Mouthfill mode is really fun and creative. Change up the gameplay for brave sections. The normal Kirby charm is of course here in full force. From the little dance that Kirby does, all Wallabies just doing their adorable little eye animations. The new enemies are a really fun bunch that I hope we see more of. The stories are a nice mix of really sweet little bits, like the background details of Midnight protecting the town, and Freybait trying her hardest to get her partner back. Vector being a really dark, even for this series villain, of being a masked Wallaby torturer, Electric Chair, while also being the evil half of your new little buddy Elfin. Remember when everyone thought he was going to be evil? That was fun. Is there anything bad about this game? Deity's design, they were not cooking. But there's just so much great about this game. I could go on, but Cyanize had a gun to my head, so wrap us up. Nintendo Switch has a lot of really great games that I'll love forever. The only one that takes my favorite franchise to a literally whole new dimension. The Switch era was all about taking Nintendo's old franchises into new, wild, and weird directions, and none did that better, in my opinion, than Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Play old Banana D.
Oh, and oh my god, we have to talk about Nintendo E3 2018. You know, there wasn't too much crazy stuff in the grand scheme of things. You know, you had your Demon X Machina, you had your Overcooked 2. But you know, we had Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn of the Golden Country, and that DLC ended up being amazing, so that's pretty good. Then you also had Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, which we talked about earlier. Fortnite? What the hell is Fortnite doing on this thing? You know, I still remember Kid Me losing his mind over Fortnite being on the Switch. Only to realize that it ran horribly and it didn't even matter. Here is hoping that it runs better on the Switch too. Please, for the love of God. Oh, and we also had Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and that was really cool. I will say the game looked mad ugly in that first initial trailer though. But hey, we finally got a mainline Fire Emblem on the Switch, so that was pretty cool. I feel absolutely horrible for the people who weren't Smash fans and they were watching this, because it was basically like 20 to 30 minutes of just straight Smash Bros. But if you're a Nintendo fan, you like Smash Bros. Like, come on, don't even lie to yourself here. I mean, it's just so iconic, the Everybody Is Here thing when they showed off every single fighter returning from every single previous Smash game. There's nothing more iconic than that trailer, and I just had to talk about it. I will say though, kind of after that reveal, that's kind of when it started to fall off. They were going over each individual change, which, you know, that's fine with me. I think that's cool and very interesting. I love when like developers talk about the tiniest little things going on in their games, you know, and all this like cool little details and whatnot. Sakurai does that all the time with his games. I mean, he will literally make a segment talking about the volume slider in the settings menu, and I would eat that up personally. But I can totally see from a non-Nintendo fan's perspective them watching this and being like, what the hell is this guy's problem? But not to fear, because we got a brand new fighter reveal at the very end of it, that being Ridley from the Metroid series, and oh my god, what an insane reveal that was. And obviously with the new Smash game, we'd have speculation for new characters and whatnot. You got King K. Rool, you got Isabelle, you got all these cool people, and then we also had the infamous Grinch leak. Oh my god, you just had to be there. But with that being said, that was 2018. Honestly, a really, really cool year. I thought it was really fun, especially if you're a Smash Brothers fan, which again, if you're not, boo-womp. But with that, let's move on to Nintendo Switch 2019, and let's talk about why New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is the worst thing God has ever created. Battle pull from the hat again. Oh my god, Super Mario Odyssey, I love that game!
Super Mario Odyssey!
So this game pisses me off in the most unconventional way possible. Why is it that when I want to do anything fun in this game, it's not mapped to a button at all? The game just prefers that I fake Tourette's. Super Mario Odyssey is a game that I've beaten and mastered from front to back, inside and out.
Who the fuck is this?
It is one of my all-time favorite Nintendo Switch games. But why is that? What makes me think that emotionally compelling Mario games about the wonders of space and childhood are inferior to paying Nintendo for some plastic that lets me have early access to trans rights? When I was going through the game again, I noticed a very distinct part about Mario Odyssey compared to other Mario 3D games. With most of them, it's always about the destination. You know, it's always just bing, bing, wahoo, grab the star, throw Bowser into a bomb, and call him a slur. Like, when I play Mario 64, I'm not taking the time to hear what the specific Bob-omb has to say about how he was laid off from work last week and is now working under the United Nations to make ends meet. I'm more concerned about the fat ass upstairs keeping me from getting to Womps. Now, looking back at Odyssey, I will gladly take the time to sit on this bench to hear about this man's struggle with feeling small in such a big city, in such a big part of the world. I would give him everything I have to make him happy. Me and that man on the bench have been married for 25 beautiful years. The thing that separates these two meaningless tasks that take the time out of your day to just read what someone has to say is that Odyssey rewards you for it. The game highlights all the little details about each and every world on such a grand scale. It says, look, see that hole in the wall over there? Go check it out and find a bunch of silly skeleton dudes and rock the fuck out, and we'll give you a shiny little moon. All these moons aren't necessarily like challenging like any other games where you roll a ball around with controls that are constantly fighting you. But these moons aren't trying to be. They're more meant to make this world feel more alive. I mean, I don't see someone living in Cool Mountain despite the clear presence of a thriving nuclear family of penguins, but I love every detail of Lake Kingdom. The small little details that tell so much about each and every little character. Even this lady of the minimum wage lake gives more world building and more meaning than the entirety of Tiny Huge Island. Fuck this level, by the way. I hate this so much. And that's just looking at these worlds at a surface level. Whenever a kingdom isn't reinventing a common set standard like the sand level or the mountains or snow, it's hiding undertones of Mario in plain sight. Whether subtle or obvious, these themes are reflections of Mario's history, even outside the games, down to the costumes and everything. And if that's the case, what the fuck does this dragon represent? Why is he here? Is he, like, supposed to be a reference to that time Charles voiced a dragon from Skyrim? I would hope so, because that's funny as shit. Despite all these positive things I've said about the game, there is one problem with Odyssey, with bringing in all this outside content from the Mushroom Kingdom and world building and making each one distinct and special, is that we'll probably never get a game like this ever again, which is honestly a shame, because this game was so big. It was everywhere. It was in New York. You could see it in Mario in, like, real life. He was on Serial. Jumpman Mario took it upon himself to personally tour America just to tell people about his new adventure. And that didn't earn Cappy any respect. This game's legacy lives and dies with Pauline, and I don't know how to feel about this dumbass flower showing up in Mario Party before the GOAT of all Mario companions. This man was everything. He was the number one. He was awesome. I miss you. I hate just seeing you in GameStop. Come back to a game. I could honestly just gush your ears off on how spectacular this game is, but I don't really have to. When you take the time to sit down and embrace this game for what it has to offer, it speaks for itself. And if I wanted to say all my thoughts on this game, I'd just make a video on my channel instead. So if you want that, you should go subscribe. Ooh, you want to click my link in the description so bad. You want to type Highness, houseofhorrorbrews.com, and read my work in progress on a continuation of Mario Odyssey with horror elements that tries to pay homage to the layout and identity of what Mario Odyssey had going. And it's about fucking Bowsette and Captain Toad. I don't fucking know. Go read it. Go do something for me now. I did something for you. Eventually, when the Switch 2 comes out with a brand new Mario game, I'm sure it'll take notes from the masterclass work of Mario Odyssey. They'd be stupid not to. Hell, I'm sure even the new Donkey Kong that EPD's been working on for some time now will have that same respect for its character's legacy that Odyssey did. You know, I think I'll go watch the newest entry of Croc Watch and see what they've been up to. Hold on. The plot's inspired by Sun Wukong? What?
Yep, on January 11th, we got New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. But also, we got Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey. Guess which game sold better? I'm actually quite surprised on how well this game sold. Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy how you have New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe as one of the best-selling Nintendo Switch games, paired with Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story Remake being one of the worst-selling Mario games. I'm actually looking at this list right now. We had a surprising amount of heavy hitters this year. We had Super Mario Maker 2, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Astral Chain, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Luigi's Mansion 3, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Dude, there were so many heavy hitters this year. Oh my god. Oh my god, and Ring Fit Adventure. Dude, I played the heck out of Ring Fit Adventure. I wish I played a little bit more of it too. I am shocked at how good of a, workout game it is. In previous years, years, we had the, you know, the Wii Fit balance board and all that, and that was kind of your workout thing. But the Ring Fit Adventure is surprisingly really fun. Oh my god, the E3 for 2019 was insane as well. We had Hero from Dragon Quest, and it wasn't just the Luminary from Dragon Quest 11, it was all the other Dragon Quest characters. I haven't played this series, so I'm not even going to try to, you know, say their names, but I do know Erdrick, and that is indeed Erdrick. But then we also had the return of Banjo-Kazooie, and while I'm not the biggest Banjo-Kazooie fan, I was very happy for fans of the series that he finally returned onto a Nintendo console, in a fighting game no less. This E3 kind of did feature a lot of games that we already knew about and just showing more footage for them. But we did get Animal Crossing New Horizons, and that was insane. You know, what is it? We are 3 years into the Switch, or nearly 3 years at the time, and we still didn't have an Animal Crossing on the Switch. Oh my god, I saw so many people losing their minds to this. Oh my god, if we're talking about losing minds, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That announcement was legendary, let me tell you. I mean, yeah, sure, while I don't have the strongest opinion about Tears of the Kingdom, I must say the reveal trailer for this was insane. This just came out of nowhere. And the Zelda series isn't really known for making sequels of games like this, and so it was just also really surprising as well to see Nintendo go back into this world of Zelda and expand it more. And also we had the reveal of a new Ganondorf, and he looked insane and dried up, and oh my god, he needs some water. By the power vested in me, you are next to talk about your favorite thing. Shadoko's gonna talk about the transition from the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch. God, that was a rough time.
Hello everybody, this is Shadoko here on the Cyanize channel. Now I'd like to begin my segment by sharing a personal story. Quite recently, I started playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze with my younger brother. And after only playing 2 levels, he said to me, "I think this is my favorite game ever." Which is something both surprising and unsurprising to me, just by the fact of how great of a game Tropical Freeze is. But the main thing I want to convey with that story is just how special the Switch is as a console. Because for me, it is truly something special that it was able to become the home of so many great games, both old and new, but the fact that the Nintendo Switch was able to succeed at all. Now to add a bit of context, what I mean by that is that coming off the Wii U, there was no guarantee that the Switch was going to be a hit. And Nintendo at the time was at a pretty rough spot, and frankly had lost a lot of credibility with a lot of gamers. But the Nintendo Switch quite literally switched things up within its first few years, creating a phenomenon that outdid the Wii in terms of sales and in reach, which is something I never thought I would ever see in my lifetime again. And by doing so, Nintendo was able to win back so many old fans, but also bring in many new fans like my younger brother. And at least for me, the Switch is the culmination of all of Nintendo's previous consoles put together, not only in its library, but also for what it is, a device you could take on the go, also play at home. And on top of that, there are just so many quality games you could play. I already mentioned Donkey Kong, but you can also play Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the Xenoblade Chronicles games, the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is probably the ultimate Smash Bros. Experience, and that's not even mentioning the many retro games and third-party games you can play on the Switch. Some of them may be contenders for the best games of all time, at least to many people. And again, to reiterate, had the Switch ended up like the Wii U, we probably wouldn't have had that much support for the Switch, and probably many of the games I just listed off. And it's that success that I don't think either Nintendo nor the fans should take for granted. It is extremely astounding that the Switch was able to succeed the way it did and be the host of so many games like that. And I hope that its legacy of being the home of so many great memories of so many people can live on for many years to come.
Oh, and I guess I kind of forgot to bring this up in the earlier segments, but the return of the Virtual Console. Kinda. We had the SNES on Nintendo Switch Online this year. And yeah, again, I forgot to talk about the NES one, but you know, we're kind of rambling here, so alright, just relax, just relax. Yeah, so it was kind of weird. So not only did they make their online service paid, but they also gave you benefits in the form of allowing you to play these older titles, which, you know, on paper that sounds pretty good until you realize you can't really buy the games, you kind of just play them. They kind of just host them online for you to play with. And then you also realize a lot of the games that you actually wanted to play just weren't there, and they were just slowly being pumped out onto the systems ever so slowly. Yeah, Not the biggest fan of the way they did it, but I guess it's fine now. There's tons of games on there, but we just had to wait a couple of years, which was kind of unfortunate. That being said, though, I do want to highlight the fact that you can play these games online, which I think that's cool. I mean, you're paying for online. You might as well be able to play these games online. So, I don't know. I think that's cool. Just wanted to highlight that. And overall, another amazing year for Nintendo. Surely 2020 is going to be just as great, if not... Fuck! Oh, hey, the Token Smash Brothers section.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has been here for a while now, and I'm pretty sure we can all agree that this is probably the best Super Smash Bros. Game that has ever been released. We have characters like this random Italian guy, this DLC character that nobody loved at all, and Jack Black from the hit movie Minecraft movie, because we all love a chicken jockey. So I'm going to keep this short and simple, but now let's get into the pros and cons of our beloved Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the game we all love. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that we were all expecting Sora as a character. Now, I know we were having some ups and downs with Sora, like, oh, Sora does belong with Disney. Sora does belong with Nintendo, Super Smash Bros. You know what I'm getting to. But it's really awesome to see that Sakurai actually does care about Sora, and now he's in Super Smash Bros. And yet, to this day, I still think that this bitch looks like Chris from Sonic X. What the fuck? Nearly every stage returned. But it's okay, people. Listen, 3DS Rainbow Road might come back sometime. Alright? It was the best course ever made on the 3DS. And now I'm gonna go to the cons because I have no other ideas on what to put on my script because I was told that this was due in June and I don't have time. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that Steve was broken as shit. If you go to Smash Streamer's lobby, for example, you're gonna see Steve is banned. Nobody plays Steve anymore. If you go to a local tournament, Steve is banned. What the actual fuck, Sakurai? Let's make Steve like Meta Knight in Brawl, but not broken. No trophies. The spirits replace the damn trophies, bro. I don't understand. I really think that this is probably a waste of time right here, but some people probably prefer the trophies over the spirits. I'm one of those people. I think with the trophies as well, it does take a while for them to create and develop the trophies as well, which I understand, you know, with a game, do you want to get the game out immediately? Online Wi-Fi. If you have shit Wi-Fi, get the fuck out of here. All right? Online Wi-Fi is probably still the worst for Super Smash Bros. Hell, if you even look at the Wii U, it's still probably shit to this day. Guaranteeing you by next Super Smash Bros. Game that comes out, it'll probably be better. Thank you, and let's move on to the next video game.
So it goes without saying, but this was the 4th year of the Nintendo Switch, and a lot of what was going to originally happen this year changed dramatically due to, yeah. That being said, we still had some amazing heavy hitters here. We had Animal Crossing New Horizons, we had Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team, we had Paper Mario The Origami King, Age of Calamity. Oh my god, and then we had Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Oh my god, guys, I know I keep talking about this game every single time I get the chance to on this channel here, but it's because it's that good of a game. Oh my god. I never played it originally on the Wii, so I kind of came in blind here. But oh my goodness, one of the best, greatest video games I've ever played. Highly recommend. However, I'm not going to delve too into it though, because we do have a section for that specifically. But yeah, I think that's really cool. We also got some other cool things as well. We got Pikmin 3 Deluxe. We got the brain training for Nintendo Switch. Overall, despite the funny thing that was going on, we had a lot of surprises to look forward to this year. And it goes without saying, but unfortunately, we didn't have an E3 this year. I mean, there was just no reason to host it. It's not like people could go to the E3 anyway. So it really made sense, but unfortunately, it meant that a lot of the announcements that we would have normally heard for E3 kind of got scattered across the place. And we would see that with games like Age of Calamity or the Origami King, where they were just straight up shadow drop with no build up at all. And in my opinion, kind of ruined the reveal for them. I mean, yeah, sure, there was an argument to be made. It gave more attention to the titles themselves and allowed fans to better like analyze and dissect them a little bit. But there's just something special about the Nintendo Direct formula that we were just sorely lacking this year. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. It was the 35th anniversary of Mario as well. And we had a lot of cool things like the announcement of 3D World coming to the Switch with a brand new side mode that we wouldn't hear about until next year. Then we also had Mario 35 and some Mario's shoes for some reason. But definitely the highlight of the Direct was Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Now, the game itself is pretty cool. You know, it's a collection of Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. 3 really good games. However, when it comes to a collection though, this was really lacking. They did the absolute bare minimum when it came to porting these games to Switch. And outside of the games you can play here, all you can do is listen to the OSTs of these games. Like, are we serious? Like, can't even view the instruction manual? Don't even get up behind the scenes with the developers? Nothing? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm really happy to play Mario Galaxy on the Switch, but come on, nothing? Nothing else? I mean, as far as anniversary collections go, this had to be one of the worst that I've ever seen. But outside of that, 2020 wasn't even that bad of a year for Nintendo. I mean, it also helped that Animal Crossing New Horizons kind of carried the year a little bit and made sure that we all had something to do during the pandemic. But looking back, I'm actually quite shocked that we had a lot to play that year. Once again, we are pulling from the hat who's gonna be next. Oh boy, here's a 10-minute section about Pokemon.
Hey guys, Mystic Aiden here. As the Pokemon guy, I'm sure that I'm the best equipped to review every Pokemon game on Switch and all of their DLC. If you count DLC separate but not the dual releases, that's about 20 games. So sorry if I'm a bit brief here on some of these. Alright, first game, Pokken Tournament DX, the port of the Wii U title. DX adds in the post-launch arcade characters plus Decidui. This game really flew under the radar, and that's so unfortunate. Pokken Tournament is a fighting game with a ton of depth, mainly due to having both 3D arena and classic 2D combat. It's also one of the best looking games in the series by a long shot. Shout out to my fellow Gengar mains, by the way. Pokken Tournament DX had DLC adding both Aegislash and Blastoise as playable characters. There was a bunch of new assists added too. However, Blastoise has destroyed me so many times on stream that I've decided he sucks. Aegislash is probably cool though. Incredibly short section. I didn't actually own the DLC. Oopsie, that's why we don't have Pokken 2. Pokemon Quest is a Minecraft voxel-style mobile game that's also on Switch. It's sort of an auto-battler with light dungeon crawling elements. The game is certainly a bit greedy, but it's fun enough for a free-to-play title. Oh, and fun fact, while the English version stopped getting content years ago, the game in China went on until I think earlier this year. Neat stuff. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee is a strange mishmash of a Kanto remake with new Pokemon Go mechanics. It removes a lot of the depth to battles with no items or abilities in sight. However, the lack of these more in-depth mechanics with the addition of co-op makes this perfect for new, younger fans to play with their parents. Especially with the Pokeball Plus, which is just a charming little controller gimmick. And of course there is one giant plus to the game, which is being able to storm through Kanto with completely overpowered Mega Pokemon and Alolan forms. That is just rad. And now for the hottest take in this entire video, Pokemon Sword and Shield are not that terrible. Dare I say they're actually pretty good? I've replayed through Pokemon Sword on stream recently and I had a great time. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely slower than almost all of the other mainline Pokemon games. But the sheer variety of Pokemon available in the game in the wild or otherwise make it actually really fun to replay. If you ever want to give Pokemon Sword and Shield a second chance, go out of your way to try and build a unique team. You can access almost the entire wild area instantly. It's totally possible. The Isle of Armor is its own semi-isolated, very short campaign that scales to your current level progress in the main game. It's a perfect, very short detour for the middle of your Pokemon Sword and Shield run, but it's a real shame that you can't actually finish it until you beat the post-game story and catch the box legendary. The entire DLC is basically a mini Pokemon game inside your regular Pokemon game that rewards you with a competitive monster of a legendary Pokemon at the end. I'd even call it underrated. Unfortunately, the second half of Switch's DLC, the Crown Tundra, is a little underwhelming. Instead of a short campaign from A to B, it's a set of quests to catch 5 golems, 3 birds, a deer, and a horse of your choice. It's actually really fun catching the legendary Pokemon on your first run through, but once you know how to do all of the puzzles, the replay value is completely lost. Which is where Dynamax Adventures come in. Dynamax Adventures is effectively this game's sort of mini rental Pokemon mode. Think of it like a battle facility in the previous games. You, alongside 3 of your friends, use rental Pokemon to traverse through a set of raids ending in a legendary Pokemon battle. You can then catch the legendary Pokemon at the end, and in a crazy turn of events, none of them are shiny locked. While the Crown Tundra's main story tends to be a bit lackluster, Dynamax Adventures are so fun it really makes up for the whole package. So Pokemon Home isn't actually a game, it's just kind of cloud storage for all of your Pokemon. Although there's a bit more thought put into it than that. Allowing you to Wonder Trade and access the GTS from your phone? Very cool! Locking having any more than one box behind his subscription fee? Kinda lame. And in an unfortunate turn of events, being able to transfer from the 3DS's Pokemon Bank up to the Nintendo Switch's Pokemon Home is going to be cut off soon, which really defeats a lot of the point of paying for the service. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX is a remake of Pokemon Rescue Team Red and Pokemon Rescue Team Blue for the Game Boy Advance and DS respectively. It is also, unfortunately, the last Pokemon Mystery Dungeon entry we've got in the series, and have gotten nothing since. While not a remake I think a lot of people were asking for, having a fused version of the two games, which we never got a third version for, is pretty cool. That and the game looks absolutely beautiful. Like, just look at these graphics. Imagine a full new game with this style. And I will say, including later generation evolutions, like Electivire and Sylveon, alongside Mega Evolutions into a Gen 3 game, is a huge plus for me. I've really enjoyed what I played of the Switch demo, as well as the original Blue Rescue Team, so I do want to stream it soon. It's the only Switch Pokemon game I haven't fully sunk my teeth into, but I want to get to it eventually. Pokemon Cafe Remix. It's a video game. It's got a cute art style. Not really a big fan of it being only in handheld mode, though. I don't have much more to say. Neat game. I just like Pokemon Shuffle a lot more on 3DS. And in the complete opposite direction, New Pokemon Snap is, hands down, the best Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. The long-awaited sequel to Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo 64 is perfect? Or at least the closest you can get to it. For context, it's basically a rail shooter, kind of like the House of the Dead, but instead of shooting Pokemon with guns, you're shooting pictures of them, which sounds boring on paper, but I promise you, it is really fun. There's so many stages, features, Pokemon, and the game just looks beautiful. However, while not spoiling anything, I will say that there are a few hit a very specific Pokemon with the very specific thing moments that you need to progress that are very obtuse, just like in the original. I really can't blame you if you use a guide. I had to at least twice as well. But I promise you, it is more than worth your time and the asking price. Please play New Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Unite is a MOBA. It is basically just League of Legends, but with Pokemon, and actually fun. I can really only play Zeraora, and it's actually kind of fun with friends. But only if you guys don't get mad too easily. Not much else to say. And then next up with this is Brilliant Diamond, oh god. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl are, in fact, video games. I'm in this weird camp where I don't really like Sinnoh a ton to begin with, like a lot of other people do. Pokemon Diamond was my very first Pokemon game, but that doesn't mean I'm really keen on replaying it. To be very clear, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond is actually a well-built remake. It's not some crazy, buggy mess or abomination of a game like some people would have you believe. BDSP, for all intents and purposes, is a perfectly passable Pokemon game. The developers made this really weird choice to base the game on Pokemon Diamond and Pearl instead of Pokemon Platinum. This means that almost all of Platinum's new features, such as a huge new battle frontier, and actually having Fire-type Pokemon available, are largely not included in the game. A lot of these issues are remedied by the new and expanded Great Underground feature, which I actually had a great time in. I spent most of my time in-game down there in the underground having fun. However, I still wouldn't consider it some amazing game. It's not bad, it's just not that interesting to me. Once again, not a bad game, I just didn't love it that much. If you, for some reason, want to replay Gen 4, I think Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are perfectly fine ways to do it, especially if you prefer to play through a game with modern mechanics, such as fairy types, for example. But all things considered, they're really just that, and not much else. Where BDSP was a total bummer, Pokemon Legends Arceus blew me away. Reinventing the overworld travel and structure of the games to be like a semi-open world action game, while keeping what makes turn-based Pokemon fun, was absolutely magical. The story was genuinely amazing too. Remixing elements of Platinum's story while putting more focus on character development and lore had me completely hooked. I have never felt fear in a Pokemon game before or since, except for when I fought the final boss of the post-game. Here's hoping Pokemon Legends EA lives up to the hype. And now, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Dude, these games are so close to just being amazing. There's just so much to do, adding a badge for every single type. It's the most expansive any Pokemon game has ever felt, especially considering there's 3 separate stories. And that story is actually really good too, especially the Path of Legends. Thanks to the new open world world format, you can really build whatever team you want by the point you're halfway through the game. However, the lack of level scaling, and especially the lag spikes, hold the game back a lot. If we get an absolute miracle and the Switch 2 gets rid of most of the lag for this game, I can see it becoming one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet are so close to the finish line that it is genuinely painful. But underneath all the technical difficulties and lag, there is a really good game. Unfortunately though, there's one part of Pokemon Scarlet I would consider almost unredeemable, and that's the Teal Mask DLC. The Teal Mask is very similar to the Isle of Armor. It's the first of the 2 DLC packs for the game. It is basically a short campaign to reward you with the legendary Pokemon. The Isle of Armor, as we discussed before, was a very short little romp on a fun, colorful island with these new funny characters. Kitakami, unfortunately, is a very standard jungle area, and it's made really difficult to explore with all of the lag that is somehow worse than the main game. And for the part that I really hate about this DLC, the story is just gaslighting a child who only wants a friend with his incredibly shitty older sister. By the halfway point of the story, I just wanted to stop. I felt terrible for Kieran. While I at the very least appreciate having a new Japanese-themed region, or at least mini-region, in hindsight, I'm not a fan of this DLC at all. And in complete contrast to the Teal Mask, I had a lot more fun playing through the Indigo Disc. I'll admit, I am very biased considering this released on my birthday with my favorite region, so it's very special to me, but regardless, I do love the Indigo Disc. Following up the Teal Mask, you journey to Blueberry Academy off the coast of Unova. This features what's basically 4 more gym battles, all of which are in doubles. And to make it better, the BB League actually puts up a fight. The actual story conclusion inside of Area Zero is incredibly fun, and the hunt for all the extra legendaries across Paldea after you finish the story is a nice bonus at the end, alongside all the new multiplayer features. Dare I say that the Blueberry Academy is the best part of Generation 9? Maybe. Probably. For those of you who have actually been paying attention, you probably noticed that I skipped a game in chronological order. Coming out between Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's first and second wave was a very weird spin-off, Detective Pikachu Returns. As evidenced by the title, this was a sequel to Detective Pikachu on the 3DS and was announced ages ago until it randomly came out in the middle of the year on Switch. The amount of time between reveal and release was so long that it's pretty easy to infer this game was in some sort of development hell. It shows. It really shows. The game is extremely lackluster. It's basically just a point-and-click adventure game where you walk around as Pikachu and try to solve a mystery. The puzzles, from what I played, were either absolute brain-dead easy, where I had to look up a guide online because the game would just mention a location, but they wouldn't give you any guidance on how to get there, and it's this weird gate off to the side of the screen, and I don't even care anymore. Detective Pikachu Returns is not a fun game. I wouldn't recommend it unless you are a literal toddler. Just don't bother. Oh, and real quick, because I promised every single Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends ZA and Pokemon Champions. Pokemon Legends ZA looks great, probably is going to be way better on Switch too, but I'm still excited for it later this year. Hopefully that extra year of polishing goes a long way. Pokemon Championships looks pretty cool. Being able to battle with the full Pokedex in its own application with all the gimmicks and Megas Interastal and stuff, that's gonna be fun. I don't think it's gonna be much more than that, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. So in conclusion, was Pokemon Switch good, or was it some complete travesty dumpster fire? Grah! In my personal opinion, I think Pokemon on Switch was a lot better than people gave it credit for. For every huge stinker like Detective Pikachu Returns, you had a new Pokemon Snap just around the corner. While the mainline games certainly had issues, I don't even think I'd call any of them outright bad. I guess at worst, Scarlet was a bit laggy and Brilliant Diamond was somewhat boring. My only huge gripe with this console generation is that there wasn't a lot of standalone spin-off stuff outside of like 2 games. The rest was just either multiplayer or some live service mobile game. But in reality, just give it a decade. I'm sure people will come around on all this eventually, and all of a sudden the Switch is gonna be the good old days. The Pokemon cycle ride never ends. Anyway, this was Mystic Aiden, and that's my section.
Yeah, gonna be real, there really wasn't much to play this year. I mean, yeah, you had Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser Fury, and that was a fun time. But outside of that, you had Mario Golf Super Rush, Game Builder Garage, Skyward Sword HD, WarioWare Get It Together. Oh, but thank God, we did have Metroid Dread, and that was a sequel to Metroid Fusion all the way back on the DS. And it was so cool because in the Metroid Prime games, you know, they were hinting at this game and they were calling it the Dread Project. And it's so cool because the game is actually called Metroid Dread, and it's so cool. It's so cool. I'm not even the biggest Metroid fan, but when I played this game, I just felt some rush, and I don't know, I love this game. I think it's one of the best games on Switch, and it made me into a Metroid fan. I don't know. I mean, it kind of sucks that we still don't have Metroid Prime 4 till this day, and it's not coming out until later on this year. But if they had to pick something to hold us over until then, I'm glad that it was Metroid Dread, and it's one of my favorite games on the Switch, which I cannot say for Pokemon BDSP, but I'm not going to say why, because I've said it a bajillion times. Just know it's a remake with very little effort and time and energy put into it. But needless to say, there really wasn't that much going on this year with Nintendo, unfortunately. I mean, we did get the N64 on the online service. That was pretty cool. Oh, and then we had an E3 this year, but it was like kind of weird. We got Kazuya Mishima in Smash. That's pretty cool. Oh wait, hold up. How did I forget to bring this up? We had Mario Party Superstars. That game was an amazing game. Oh my goodness. You know, we had a lot of lackluster Mario Party games, but when this game came out and was announced to be like a culmination of all the best Mario Party games just put into this, oh, it was so great. It was what the top 100 should have been. And I put so many hours into this game, and it kind of sucks because now Jamboree's the thing, and I just haven't played that much, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But overall, though, 2021, probably one of the weaker years for Nintendo, but there's definitely been worse, and we will get to those years later on in this video. But we're going to be moving on to 2022, and honestly, I don't remember much going into 2022, so let's get into it. We once again find ourselves in a position where we are drawing from the hat. Mr. Obby's now going to be talking about Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games for 5 minutes.
Hey folks, it's me, Obby. Now, Cyanize asked me to make a video about the Nintendo Switch game that's near and dear to my heart. But the only problem is, everyone else took all the good games. So, while I figure out a game that I need to make a video on, I thought I'd play some Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games 2020 for the Nintendo Switch, get some online gaming going, and see how we fare. Wait a minute! Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, a game series that every Mario and Sonic fan knew they didn't want, but thought it was a good investment. And trust me when I say, I own all of them. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games on the Nintendo Switch is essentially the last hurrah for the series, as the Olympics decided NFTs were the right direction for the company. Their NFT website is down. So today, for my little Nintendo Switch retrospective, I decided we should take a look at the last game of the Olympic series on Nintendo Switch. The game opens up with an intro animation of everyone competing at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Fun fact, the Olympics weren't held in 2020. Finally, a video game where we can see Luigi's feet! Oh, the police are here. Here we have the game modes on hand. We got single quick matches, story mode, and online play for that competitive nature in all of us to play Mario and Sonic online. In quick match, we could choose from 21 different events to play in, and 3 special dream events that were the staple of the past Olympic Games series. I mean, it's better than Rio 2016, I can give it that much. For the regular events, I'm sticking with the tried and true 100-meter sprint. Nothing says Olympic Games better than running. We got the same cast here as the one from the previous titles, only now they have a text under them that relates to the event itself, rather than a bunch of stats assigned to a specific character. Good at super moves. It's Wario, you can say the quiet part out loud. It's so nice to see father and son being in separate countries, it truly warms my heart. Alright, let's win this 100-meter sprint! I need a redo. Waluigi looked at me funny. I played as Sonic the Hedgehog and won the race. The grass is green and the sky is blue. Sometimes. The next event is going to be a dream event. And why not? Let's do Dream Karate. I'm sure Eggman is itching to fight Vector or something. Holy shit, he's here. The goal in this event is to whack your opponents across the arena and to light up the LED panels in your favor. And let me tell you, I'm mopping the floor with these assholes. No wonder they can't make a Sonic the Fighters 2. Eggman's whooping ass! Even after winning, he still looks pissed. Now, while there are regular and dream events, Sega and Nintendo decided why not and added a brand new section called 8-bit events. Sonic is 16 bits. These events relate to the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, which is why everything is all pixelated. It's the past, everything looked retro back then. The character selection in this one though is vastly different however, only a whopping 8 playable characters, 4 from each series. It is kind of lame, it would have been cool if we got the whole cast, but I understand them still not wanting to make a 16-bit version of Shadow the Hedgehog, so we'll move on. Alright Tails, this is it. You gotta use your Tails to your advantage here. The 1964 long jump depends on it. I still won. Now, this game does have a story mode, mind you. In fact, it's the first home console version of the Olympic series to have a set-in-stone story mode. All the other ones were on the 3DS. The game takes place in two different perspectives. Here, we're on the 2020 perspective, where we can travel to different locations in modern-day Tokyo. What part of the natural world does Silver love? We're in the middle of the story mode because I could give two pisses about finishing this damn game, so we gotta talk to Vector to see if he can help us save Mario and Sonic as they're stuck in Tokyo in 1964. Apparently they're stuck in a game system. Guess who forgot about the entire plot and is only returning to this game after 6 years? Oh, that's me! That's me! Vector says he'll only help us if we beat him in a game of discus throw. What the f? Mario and Sonic are probably stuck in 1964 for God knows how long, and you want me to win a discus throw for your services? Do you know what's going on in 1964? F***ing Rubella! I beat him after getting a foul. Next mission. Well, he did promise to help us find the culprit who did this after beating him, so a deal's a deal, Vector. He tells us to piss off and go talk to Toadette, who's standing right next to him. I mean, I'm sure 1964 isn't that bad. Those two will be fine. I have Rubella myself. And that was the last game in the Mario and Sonic series, and honestly, it set out what it was supposed to do. It's an Olympic tie-in game. It's not going to be the crossover people want from Mario and Sonic, but this series has been part of my childhood for so many years that having the Nintendo Switch be the console that had the last Mario and Sonic game on the system means that whenever someone feels nostalgic and wants to play that said series, they can always just boot up their Wii and play London. That game kicks ass! Oh shoot, I forgot all about the online in this game! It's a good thing I didn't do a video about the C button.
All right, Nintendo Switch 2022. What did we have this year? Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Kirby's Dream Buffet. That's pretty cool. Oh, it was Kirby's 30th anniversary. Okay, well that makes a lot more sense now. I was like, what? Why is there back-to-back Kirby? Oh, and then we had Splatoon 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Year of the 3, I guess, even though it's 2022 and not 2023. Would have been funny if that was 2023, though. I forgot. It was so crazy because in that, like, span of that whole year, we had BDSP, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think that's insane. I think that's absolutely crazy. We also had some other titles as well, like Bayonetta 3 finally coming to the console, another game that's a number 3 for some reason. We also had Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which was a sequel to Mario plus Rabbids, which I thought was kind of interesting. I didn't think the original game sold that well, but hey, I guess we have another game. We also had Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Now that is an interesting decision for sure. I didn't know if Three Houses lore was that crazy, but I guess it was crazy enough to make a Warriors game, so here we are. You would think by this point I'd be running out of names, but no, we still have plenty of people to talk about their favorite thing. Speaking of, Luna and Pals are going to tell you why Fire Emblem Engage is a good game. It's not.
Hello everybody, Luna here. So when I was called onto this project to represent a game for the Switch, immediately the game that came to mind was Fire Emblem Engage. So I know that there is a bit of a stigma throughout this game, but we're gonna ignore that entirely. Before Engage released, I did a binge of every single Fire Emblem game in the franchise, and it was a great experience. Besides one game, don't like New Mystery of the Emblem, not a great time. I just fell in love with this franchise a lot. I love the characters, I love the stories, I love the gameplay, it's always fun. I'm a big strategy RPG fan. Something I don't understand why, but it's become my favorite franchise. I love the style, I love how the franchise always tries new things, even when it doesn't work out all the time. Leading up to Engage's release, my life was not going well. I didn't have a full-time job, and the ones I did, I got fired from pretty promptly. I was job searching, and if anyone knows how job searching is, you know how much of a pain in the fucking ass that is. Eventually, though, I was hired by a company. Around the time, the first month I was hired actually, Engage released. So there I was, at my new job, big new experience for me. Every time I came home and every time I just wanted to relax, I had Fire Emblem Engage. And that's cemented that game as something very important to me, because it is such a feel-good game, and that's what I love about it. It is not super serious, let me make that abundantly clear. It's not serious. I know it has serious moments, but there is a difference between a game having serious moments and a game being serious, and Engage is not the latter. Engage is very goofy. It's in line with, like, Awakening and Fates in that regard, though less so Fates, more so Awakening. It has a cast of a bunch of colorful goobers that have one brain cell. They're so funny, so charming. I love every single one of them. I don't think I hate a single cast member. And there's a bunch of deep characters hidden beneath the goofballs. I love Saline, I love Rafal, I love Nell, I love Allier. Allier is my favorite Fire Emblem protagonist. Yes, their hair is fucking goofy as hell, but they're so great. I love how much they try. The gameplay is the best in the series, and I don't think anyone will argue with me about that. It's so refined, it's so good, it's so balanced. The emblem mechanic is great, the music is great, all the sound design has so much oomph. It's so good. Story is basic, yeah, but like, I don't really care. As long as I like the characters in a story, I'm gonna have a good time. And Engage delivers on that, and then some for me. Helped me through that rough patch in my life. It gave me something to look forward to whenever I had a stressful day at my new job. It was a great experience from beginning to end. And I've played it 10 times, soon to be 11. Yup. I could talk about this for hours. I love this game so much. At first, the community was kind of like, this game fucking sucks. Why is it so anime and fucking over the top? And now, as a couple years after, they're like, okay, it's doing something different. I don't like it per se, but that's fine. Every game is different, and that's what's great about it. They're always trying new things. If you don't like one, hey, that's okay. You'll probably like the next one, or not. It's just a series that's not afraid to have fun, try new things, and tell good stories. Everyone should give it a try, at least. If you like Fire Emblem in general, and if you were maybe put off by people talking about it early on in its release, give it a chance. Like, maybe play up till Chapter 11 is when I would recommend stop. If you're, like, not having a good time even after Chapter 11... No, actually, no, not Chapter 11, Chapter 13. Stop at that point if you don't like what you're playing. Because I think that's when the game is, like, starting to get better and better. That's my parting words, I guess you could say. Thank you for having me on, Cyan. See you all on the flip side, and I'm looking forward to Nintendo Switch 2.
Oh, and then we had Mario Strikers Battle League. Oh my god, this year was full of L's for gaming. Okay, but let me clarify. A new Mario Strikers game sounds amazing. I mean, this is one of the only games where I was gonna go out and buy it, but then I played the demo for it, and I realized I've already experienced everything the game had to offer. It was that embarrassing. Oh, very interestingly enough though, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, that game dropped in 2017. But for some reason, in the big 2022, it got the Booster Course Pass DLC, which basically aimed to add a bunch of tracks as DLC to Mario Kart 8. I mean, it's so crazy too. I don't think the game was dead or anything, but it definitely revitalized the game and definitely got me and my friends back on to play the game a lot more than we would have otherwise. And also in hindsight as well, I think they were doing this to hold us over for Mario Kart World because, yeah, between Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart World, that was a really long wait period. So even though it was a little unorthodox that they were dropping DLC this late after the game's been out for a while, I kind of hope they go back and do stuff like this more often because it was kind of cool and did get me to go back and play the game, so I think that's kind of cool. What the hell is a Fat Balls?
Hi guys, it's me, Fat Balls, and I'm gonna talk about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I love this game. I've played this game since the moment it came out, and I have so much to say about this game. One second, guys, I'm getting a call. Hi, Cyanize. You sound upset with me. Oh, someone already talked about this one. Slight misunderstanding. I'm actually going to be talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I understand, man. I'm sorry. It was an honest mistake. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the screenshot button. At first, I didn't really like this thing, but it has grown on me. It doesn't look that big, but it's big enough to keep hitting it by accident. When I first got a Switch, I didn't really think much of this button. Because, I mean, look at this thing. It's not trying to be thought of with that kind of appearance, right? And if I did know of its existence, it would be because I had a friend or cousin over spamming the doof out of this button.
Hey, what does this button do?
Oh, that one takes screenshots. And this would happen at a time when I wasn't very emotionally mature, so I would be tight as hell deleting 1,000 screenshots off of my album. It took like 10 to 15 minutes every time. Not that long, but still annoying. But after me and everyone I know hit that maturity wall, I can appreciate this button for what it is. It's just screenshots. I never really did much with the Switch album. Every time I open it, I just kind of wonder how things got there. What significance does this have? I have 3 of these. Yeah, now I'm too lazy to delete any screenshots though. But, you know, maybe there are people that grew up with the Switch and have their albums filled up with cherished memories, and I think that's pretty cool. Or, you know, maybe they use their albums for something else entirely. So yeah, I never really thought much of this thing's intended function, but in more recent years, I've learned that this thing can be pretty funny. That screenshot noise can have a nice comedic effect if it's timed right. I remember there's some pretty funny bits on the internet with this thing over the years, like that one with Zelda. It's not a very respectful example, but it's the only one I can think of right now, and you get my point. Every now and then, if I'm playing Smash with a friend, I could hit a nasty combo, or they can self-destruct tragically. I just hit them with the... Or I'm playing Mario Party with my friends, and I get my 8th star, way ahead of everyone else. You just gotta hit him with the... And it's a lot of fun. That's about everything I have to say. Overall, the screenshot button gets a thumbs up for me. So, say cheese.
I think I said it already, but Splatoon 3 came on the console. That was interesting. To this day, I still don't think we needed a Splatoon 3. I think we were just fine with Splatoon 2, but you know what? Splatoon 3, year of the freaking salmon, I don't know. 2023 was surprisingly packed. We got games like Fire Emblem Engage, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, the more Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Pass, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, Pikmin 1 and 2, and Tears of the Kingdom. Huge game, by the way, along with Pikmin 4. That game is also pretty huge. You know, don't let the fact that Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a huge open world deter you by the fact that we finally got Pikmin 4. But then we also had some duds. You know, we had Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon. I haven't played the game, so I don't know if it's actually good or not, but I think it's kind of interesting to release a spin-off right after you made the third game. I heard it just didn't sell well, so I don't know. I just thought it's interesting. I mean, there were some weird ones as well. You know, we had things like F-Zero 99. You know, for a moment there, we all thought, oh, hey, finally, a new F-Zero. No, it's a 99 thing. But hey, that game was really fun. I did actually have a really fun time with it. And then we also had Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Dude, before this game, the last 2D Mario game we had, if you don't count Mario Maker 2 or New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, was New Super Mario Bros. U on the Wii U. Yeah, like around 2013. So needless to say, we were due for a new 2D Mario game, and this game was great. And I also think it's really interesting that instead of ending the year on this, we actually ended on Super Mario RPG. I don't know. I just think that's funny. I just wanted to highlight that real quick. And while it's not really a part of the lineup, I did want to highlight Project Voltage because I'm super obsessed into Miku, and oh my god, they gave Miku an outfit for every single Pokemon type in Pokemon, and I think that's so cool. Again, this has nothing to do with Nintendo, but I think that is so freaking cool. Look at all these outfits, man. They're so cute. And sad to say, last year was the last year we would have E3, and so we did not have an E3 this year. It really sucks because I really wanted to go to one, and now I'm an adult, and now I totally could have went to one, but I just can't anymore. It just sucks that there'll never be a Nintendo E3 I can attend anymore. Like, imagine being at the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate E3 floor during that time when it was announced in 2018. That would have been so exciting. I want to say we're coming down to the wire, but that'd be a lie. We still have plenty of names to choose from, funnily enough, and also I cannot uncurve this thing. Oh my god. Joker's okay. That's my oomphy right there. She's going to talk about 51 Clubhouse games.
Clubhouse games? Hell yeah! This game is very special to me because it came out around the time the pandemic was happening. You know, when we were all locked in our rooms with nothing to do. I ended up getting it on release day and I just played it a lot during that time. I couldn't tell you how many times I played it, but it was a lot. Clubhouse games is something that isn't really revolutionary in any way, but rather a good way to kill some time when you're bored. With there being 51 games to go through and play for a little bit before switching to the next, there's a lot of content. There's classic games like Spider Solitaire, Regular Solitaire, War, Dominoes, Fishing, Bowling. You get the point. There's a lot of variety within Clubhouse games. There's even board games like Connect 4 and what I'm pretty sure is Sorry. So that's fun if you're into that. There's games like chess and checkers that a lot of people do know how to play, and games like Mancala that are a little harder to get into. Clubhouse Games does have a tutorial for each game, with some games even having a cheat sheet to help you out. So there's always an opportunity to learn a new game. This did happen to me with the best game out of all 51 games, Hanafuda. I don't know what it is, but this game is just super addicting. Basically, you try to get combinations of cards before your opponent does to score points, and there's an opportunity after you get a combination to keep playing and get more points with a multiplier. That's a very rough rundown of Hanafuda, but trust me, if you end up getting this game or have an opportunity to play it on the Switch too, You have to try it. There's so many games here that are just fun to play, and there's even an online mode so you can play with your Oshis across the world. Please, please, please try it out if you haven't already. And it is getting a day one update for Switch 2 that I'm sure will add lots of content. Are you fucking serious?
Okay, I'm looking into the hat here, and I think there is 6 more, but I might be wrong on that. If I'm wrong, please point and laugh at me in the comments. Dolphin's going to talk about Animal Crossing now.
First and foremost, let me start by saying the pandemic absolutely rocked me, bro. I went into like a 4-year recovery after that. It affected my virtual reality arcade sales. I was already doing drugs, mildly at the time, but it had gotten a lot worse. The crowd I was around was like disgusting and diabolical. I basically lost my livelihood from that whole pandemic event. And I'm saying this because as everything was tumbling down on me and I was living in the loneliest period of my life, I had very little to truly keep me company. This is going to sound so corny, but Animal Crossing New Horizons was one of many of those decently healthy things that kept me company. I know it might sound silly to salivate over the chores game of all video games, but growing up, I've always played Animal Crossing. My first Animal Crossing was City Folk, and then New Leaf, and my most recent obviously being New Horizons. Matter of fact, as a side note, I learned how to install Homebrew Channel because of City Folk. Anyways, New Horizons is easily the best one, and I could go into precisely why for like a few hours, honestly, but I'll just leave it at this. If it weren't for the Switch 1 and Animal Crossing, I honestly might have gone insane. Thank you.
Okay, let me give you an actual count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 more sections left, guys. This video's nowhere near over. You guys better have not clicked off by now. Oh my god, I messed up. Okay, who's next? Butternut is going to talk about Kirby Star Allies. That's a pretty good game right there.
In my opinion, Kirby Star Allies is one of, if not the best love letters to Kirby fans. If you even slightly like Kirby, you will love this game. They bring back old mechanics from fan-favorite games such as Superstar, bringing back the ally system, allowing you to befriend any of your enemies, and mixing of power-ups from Kirby 64. In addition to all these features they brought back, so much of the soundtrack is just remixed versions of old songs, and a lot of the newer songs even have motifs of the older songs. So please, do yourself a favor and listen to that soundtrack. It's incredible. The most common gripe with this game is that it was just far too easy. While I do agree with that, it being so easy is what makes it so much fun. If you can get some of your friends to sit down and play this, assuming you have friends, I'm hoping you do, you know, it is a great game. As I had mentioned about making friends in this game, you can befriend old allies and old enemies, such as Marks, Rickkyne, Koo, DeRoach, even Susie as the latest one. Each with their own individual soundtrack for the final boss. It plays so good. And all the boss themes are remixed. They're not reused. Everything is new. It's the first time you hear Nightmare's theme in years. And I've never 100%ed a game before, but man, did this make me want to do it. You get the smallest, best reward for 100%ing it. I'm not going to show what it is, but worth it. It's worth it all the time. So as probably no one knows, I have epilepsy. I believe it's generalized. I have myoclonic, absence, and grand mal. That's kind of important for this. Kirby Star Allies came out March 16th, 2018, which was right around when I was having to hop from hospital to hospital, doctor to doctor, trying to figure out how to help me. And I was in a very bad spot at that time, because believe it or not, having a bunch of little probes hooked up to your head 24/7 kind of sucks. Not gonna lie, very itchy, not a good experience. Not gonna lie. But being in that like hospital and that, just having a game for me to hyper focus on that had so much replayability and was relatively easy. Like it was not hard at all, didn't stress me. Nice, easy, I could take my time with everything. It was wonderful. It was a much needed break from everything that was going on. And genuinely, thank you, HAL Labs. You kept me in the game. You kept me going. It actually incentivized me to 100% a game. I've never 100%ed a game in my life because I always considered it a waste of time and effort, but then again, I'm kind of lazy. Cyan can probably tell, seeing that this is being given to him last minute. You gotta give me a break there. It's like, oh, you gotta give me a break. I do, however, genuinely feel that as this is one of the lesser liked Kirby games, like a lot of people consider it with like Squeak Squad level of bad. I do genuinely see this as one of the best Kirby games. Could be a weird mix of nostalgia, but genuinely great game. Give it a shot. Don't think of it like a Kirby game. Think of it like a party game. You need friends to enjoy it, but if you have friends, it's fun. If you don't have friends, well, I don't know what to tell you. Also, it got DLC. Eat your heart out, Kirby Forgotten Land. Like, that, just saying, better game. Better game. Hands down. Hands down. Thank you for having me on here. Bye-bye.
Oh my god, I'm covering it. The Zelda era with Vertigo. Okay.
When the Switch launched in 2017, it came out swinging with a Master Sword, and as the Switch 1 era is near completion, its sword has not dulled since its initial swing, nearly a decade ago. Breath of the Wild wasn't just a launch title, it was a redefining moment for the Zelda franchise, and over the last 8 years, Switch-era Zelda has solidified itself amongst N64-era Zelda as the best era of all time. With Breath of the Wild, the standard Zelda formula was broken. There wasn't a set story, no hand-holding, and no set direction for you to travel in. It was just you and a breath of the wild. The game revolutionized modern open-world titles. I know I wasn't the only one who enjoyed experiencing this new open-world environment.
Wow.
How do I explain that? That's f***ing nuts.
I'll explain this in a bit.
It's won awards.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
And it brought millions of fans to the Switch, with it selling over 34 million copies. But the journey through this version of Hyrule continued 6 years later. Tears of the Kingdom took what we loved about Breath of the Wild and put it on steroids. It brought an engineering style of puzzle solving into the game with the addition of Ultra Hand and Zone Eye Paw. Now that's something I'll never forget. Nintendo gave us a duology of games where no two playthroughs are ever the same, and somehow made Hyrule feel completely new despite the previous iterations of it. Between two colossal games, we even got a few remakes. We got a beautiful reimagining of Link's Awakening, which showed that even games from the 90s could be made into an amazing experience. We even got to revisit one of my personal favorite Zelda games, Skyward Sword. They somehow managed to bring back the motion controls in a semi-non-clunky way. Re-experiencing these top dungeons and a revitalized combat system was definitely a treat. And even for the first time, we got to experience a true Zelda game. Nintendo managed to twist the things that made Breath of the Wild so breathtaking into a 2D setting. I loved how they implemented echoes seamlessly into this game, and the multitude of solutions for each individual puzzle was astounding. And then we got a historical expansion for Breath of the Wild. Age of Calamity expanded the lore of so many of the beloved characters and showed a reimagination of the calamity that wrecked Hyrule. The combat wasn't my style, however, others praised the experience with this game, and I overall agree. Across all of these titles, one thing was clear for the Switch era of Zelda. The Switch was a canvas, and the artists, the Nintendo development team, painted a beautiful landscape of stories and glorious experiences. As the Switch 1 is sent off, the Switch 2 is not only remaking some of these classic games with upgraded graphics, but will likely present new games of a greater magnitude than before. So, let's all look back at this area with love.
Yeah, overall a pretty solid year. I don't really have any funny jokes to say or any quips or any of that. I just think it was a pretty nice year for gaming as well as Mario in general. Because, oh my god, he has a whole movie now. About to get another movie next year as well as of me making this video. So, oh my god, they are ready to pump these things out. But now we move on to 2024. And, you know, it goes without saying, but 2024 was last year. And with the Switch 2 coming, you guys might be able to put the pieces together and realize that, yeah, we probably didn't have much to play last year. And yeah, you'd be right. I played literally anything else but the Switch last year. I mean, you did have some cool ones. You got the Paper Mario 1000 Year Door remake, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Emio the Smiling Man, Mario Luigi Brothership, and more. But then you also had some interesting ones like Princess Peach Showtime, Endless Ocean Luminous. Oh, and if you count this as a game, we also had Nintendo Music, which I think that's funny. We don't get Spotify, but we get this. Yeah, overall a pretty dry year in regards to gaming. But hey, it made sense in hindsight because obviously they're prepping for the Switch 2. So it makes sense, but it still kind of sucks. We didn't even get like any major third parties. I mean, we got Sonic X Shadow Generations and Epic Mickey Rebrushed. I guess those are cool. They are cool. I'm not discrediting them, but I don't know. Just something huge. I don't know. All right, I'm seeing 4 more names in here. Who do we got left? Hey, Crouton, he's going to talk about the Xenoblade series on the Switch. Heck yeah, dude. And I would pronounce his name, but he's French, and I don't know how to pronounce French.
So the Switch is officially done, huh? I mean, we got Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, but it's not gonna matter because the Switch 2 is coming soon. Got that baby pre-ordered, and now I can finally put my Switch in the trash. Woo! Switch 2, baby!
Crouton, it's supposed to be a nice farewell.
Oh, right. My bad. In all seriousness, I liked my time with the Switch. Even though it was super underpowered, I think that Nintendo managed to make the most out of the console's hardware while still delivering amazing looking games. And what is my favorite game on the Switch? Well, someone seems to have taken my Smash, and we're sticking with Nintendo games specifically. So, we talking about one of my favorite franchises of all time? Xenoblade. If you ever craved for an insane story and lore from Nintendo because they never really delivered on that, then look no further. These are the games for you. And I've said it many times, now is the perfect time to get into Xenoblade because the entire trilogy is on Switch alongside X that I haven't bought yet. And once we get that 60 FPS and 4K resolution for Switch 2, ooh, baby, it's Jover, bro. Awesome character designs, there's crazy cutscenes, there's uni, absolutely everything that you could possibly want. And well, I'll give you this, the first game might be a bit hard to get into because of its gameplay, but it's not even that bad. Xenoblade 2 Onward is where they perfected the mechanics, and its DLC Torna has the best gameplay to date. And I've always done this so that way the story hits hard. I don't want to tell you anything about the insane plot these games hold, but just know, if you know, you know. I'm not trying to overhype, just go into the game with an open mind and just let the world immerse you. Is that the way you're saying it? Because that's another thing that I love about these games. They really show a sense of scale with the world. And I can see some people not really liking it because it's a huge open world. I'd rather be able to savor the beautiful scenery around me rather than just fast forward through areas I don't really like. And on top of that, the OST is just bangers all around. Definitely up there as some of the most beautifully composed pieces in any video game. It makes me feel a certain way on certain days, bro. So when you add pretty landscape and amazing music, you reach a whole new plane of existence, man. I can't wait to see what else Monolith Soft has in store for us. They are the best studio on this planet. I'm not even joking. Like, look it up, do some research. And at this point, I'm crossing my fingers for ports or remakes of Xenogears. Thanks for letting me on. Play Xenoblade. I'm Crouton. Play Xenoblade. And take care, guys. Oh, and also, play Xenoblade.
All right, last 3. Who's going to be in 3rd place? We got Nintendo Novice is going to talk about the Pikmin series.
Imagine you're an average working class citizen with a big nose trying to finish a job when suddenly you're thrown off course and end up stranded in an unknown land.
The Nether.
I'm not talking about Mario, I'm talking about the similarly big nose space explorer. And if I told you the Switch era was the best time to be a Pikmin fan, I'd be right. The Switch era has been the best time to be a Pikmin fan. Pikmin 2 was one of the first games I played as a toddler, along with Luigi's Mansion and Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. And if I told you I adored this game, I would once again be correct. I adored Pikmin 2. I didn't play Pikmin 1 until later when they re-released it for the Nintendo Wii, but I'll be damned and call me a Bulborb's uncle. They have every single Pikmin game on the Nintendo Switch. Forget about this miserable mistake.
Who put you on the planet?
Every Pikmin game is on the Switch! I'm Pickle Rick! First we got Pikmin 3 Deluxe in 2020, but oh ho ho, Nintendo was just getting started. We were not prepared for what Nintendo was scheming next. In 2023, Nintendo not only released the best title in the series, Pikmin 4, although the storing is a little confusing given the previous Pikmin timeline, but they also ported both Pikmin 1 and 2 onto the Switch. As it stands, we have the best way to play every single Pikmin title, all available on one single console, and that's pretty special. But I know what you're thinking. Novice, what makes Pikmin so special in the first place? What makes Pikmin so special in the first place? Well, let me tell you, the Pikmin series is one of a kind. There's nothing like it. In what other game do you get to command a tiny little army of plant-like creatures in serene environments, brutally murdering the wildlife and royally f***ing up the entire ecosystem? On top of that, the different ways you can command your Pikmin and learn about their unique attributes makes for very fun puzzle solving and satisfying room for improving your multitasking skills within a limited time frame. There's something so special about the quirky and relaxing music, beautiful environments, multi-layered gameplay, world building, and mysterious lore that makes these games one of a kind. If you haven't checked these games out, I highly recommend it, especially since we're in the golden age of Pikmin right now. Thank you to the Nintendo Switch for giving us the greatest Pikmin game yet, along with carrying the greatness of all the other titles in the series. Given this is Miyamoto's baby, even more so than Mario, it's safe to say the Switch made him proud. Let's hope they continue taking the Pikmin series to new heights on the Switch too, and actually have the story make sense again.
Alright, the last two. What do we have here? We have PJ. He's going to talk about the Splatoon series on the Nintendo Switch.
Hey everyone, it's me, PJ. I'm honored to be a part of this collaboration for the Nintendo Switch send-off. Now you might be wondering, PJ, Mystic is already doing Pokemon, so what on earth are you going to do? Well, dear viewer, I'm glad you asked. I will be doing my current hyperfixation, Yokai-wa. Oh, 1 second. Yeah? What? You're switching me to Splatoon? Splatoon was very successful on the Wii U, not only being the 6th best-selling title on the system at 4.95 million copies sold, but also winning Best Shooter and Best Multiplayer awards at the Game Awards 2015. So it's no surprise that Splatoon 2 was released on July 21st, 2017 on the Switch, just a few months after the console's launch. The game is very similar to its predecessor, having the ability to shoot ink and go into swim form to increase both movement and ink recovery speed. Every sub-weapon from the first game is present except for Seekers and Disruptors, which were replaced by Toxic Mist and Curling Bombs respectively. However, every single special weapon except for Bomb Rush is removed entirely, being replaced with new specials like Splashdown. Every weapon type from the first game reappears, including the new dualies and umbrellas. Just like the first game, there was also the hero mode. The structuring is mostly the same, with a few new gimmicks here and there, like ride rails. However, you can now use any weapon type of your choice thanks to Sheldon. These weapons each have their own individual upgrades and levels, so choose carefully what you want to upgrade. Splatoon 2 is the first entry in the series to feature major paid DLC, that being the Octo expansion. The Octo expansion has you play as an amnesiac Octoling labeled Agent 8, the first time in the series where you can play as an Octoling. The levels are vastly different from the ones seen in Hero mode, as while some are normal get-to-the-goal levels, others have special clear requirements. God, this sounds so official. I think school's corrupting me. Some levels require you to break all the targets, others require you to defeat a certain number of Octarians, some require you to steer an 8-ball to the goal, haunting all who touch this demonic sphere, and many more. The weapon you go in with is given at the station platform, where you may have to choose between different options. The options with the least rewards typically tend to be the easiest. Now for the latest entries, Splatoon 3. The multiplayer is generally the same, however the player can now perform squid rolls and squid surges as alternate movement options. Also, 2 more weapon types were added, being the Stringers and Splatanas, as well as the incredibly underwhelming Angle Shooter sub-weapon. The Hero mode is very different as well. The game starts off in a normal Hero mode fashion, but after falling into the abandoned Alterna, the game changes its approach drastically. The levels are more reminiscent of those in Octo expansion, where you select a weapon at the start. While you can upgrade your hero shot, it is vastly different, as you don't just upgrade the weapon, you upgrade the entire gear in a skill tree. Some of these upgrades make boss fights a complete joke. Like, you can slaughter Big Man. And finally, there's Splatoon 3's 2-wave paid DLC. Wave 1 had you able to go back to Inkopolis Plaza via a newly added train station. But Wave 2 was much more interesting. Like Octo Expansion, Wave 2 had a new story mode called Side Order where you played as Agent 8, but don't think it's anything like Octo Expansion. Side Order has you climb a 30-floor spire made by Marina that was corrupted by an AI created from the wishes of the developers of the Memverse that you find yourself in. Each floor has 3 different options for the mission you want to do, but there might sometimes be a vending machine. Each floor has a different objective with a different color chip and Membucks reward. Color chips give you more abilities, while Membucks lets you buy things from the vending machine, or if you have the hack on from Marina outside the spire, reset floors for alternate options. These hacks are unlocked from pearls obtained after runs through the spire, spelled PRLZ. Upon clearing the spire for the first time, you unlock Inkopolis Square. And that's everything I have to talk about Switch Era Splatoon. There are many things I had to leave out for the sake of time constraints, such as Splatfests and boss fights, but I think I got the main stuff covered. You know, it would be really funny if the 4th game had a time travel plot. Wait a minute. Alright, with that out of the way, time to finally talk about how you need to play Yokai Watch 3.
That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
And I would do a funny thing, but there's like literally like one name in here, and it's Noir Heart. He's going to talk about third-party support on the console. I can't believe it took us this long to finally get to that part, but here we are.
I like Nintendo. I have a huge variety of Nintendo games I love, but sometimes I just want to play something different. I love a good mindless Mario Kart race, enjoyable 2D platformers like Kirby's Epic Yarn, and super intuitive JRPGs like Fire Emblem Engage and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but there's sometimes I want to play a game where lonely children get bullied the shit out of and traumatized for life.
Isn't it about time you grew up and acknowledged our situation? Huh? Right now, you're useless to me. All you do is eat away at my life.
Third-party and indie games on Nintendo consoles have always been a thing since the very beginning, but the portability of the Nintendo Switch gives you the option to play them wherever you want, and it's a bigger deal than it might seem. And Steam Decks didn't exist in 2017, so...
Shut the fuck up, idiot!
Picture this. Sonic the Hedgehog had a rough experience in the 2010s.
Oh shit, really?
It started off with the critically acclaimed Sonic Colors, because, you know, people could be wrong, with the runner-up being Sonic Generations, which is an actual good 3D Sonic game. Then we got Lost World and boom, wowie zowie. So people were really iffy about the franchise until Sonic Mania was revealed and confirmed to be on the upcoming handheld home console hybrid Nintendo Switch. Sonic the Hedgehog was back to his roots on the go. 8 years after this game's release and 7 years after the DLC released, this is still an incredible package that holds up today with loads of content and creativity. My favorite level used to be my least favorite level from Sonic 2, with Sonic & Knuckles' most hated mechanic from Sandopolis. I still find that wild. This game alone is an incredible experience, and it is still the best game to play on the go for this console in my genuine honest opinion. Give it a shot if you somehow already haven't played this yet. Game of the Year 2018 nominee Celeste is a visually stunning indie game with fluent gameplay and animation along with one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. This is one of the best vibes you could possibly ask for. It doesn't have the greatest story of all time, but it's a really nice tale about finding yourself and accepting who you are while overcoming what seems to be an impossible challenge. In 2019, Super Monkey Ball finally got new entries after 5 years of nothing, with the last release being on the PS Vita. Ew. Banana Blitz HD is one of the shittiest but also really beautiful looking remakes I've ever seen, but it's something. We got 2 new games on the console ever since, with the most recent one being an exclusive when it shouldn't be, but hey, it's there. Hatsune Miku. For a big game like Persona 5, there is only one tiny thing about this specific port that makes it not as good as the other versions, and it's not even that much of a big deal. It's just specific effects on personas and shadows, that's really it. You can still have nearly the exact same experience as you would on the PS4.
It's wild.
Also, Persona 5 Royal is my favorite video game ever. You guys should play it.
I get when people get the Nintendo console for the Nintendo exclusives, and there are definitely better ways to play these third-party games, but when you have such a simple and cheaper option, then why bother? If you have Steam, PlayStation, or Xbox, majority of the time, you're gonna play these kind of games on those instead, but this is an option, a choice to grace your Nintendo Switch with not lazy shit. How is this $60? It's absurd. There are a ton of third-party and indie games on the Nintendo Switch, like Crash Bandicoot, Deltarune, and Final Fantasy VII, and there are going to be way bigger games coming out for the Switch 2, and I am incredibly excited for them. I'm hoping for games like Repo to be available on this big piece of plastic now that there's chat functionalities. Just don't play Persona 5 Royal on the plane. It's one of the most uncomfortable experiences literally ever. It seems like third-party games might remain as normal prices since Street Fighter 6 is $60 on the Switch 2, as God intended. So hopefully it stays that way, and that'll be another big reason to why the Nintendo Switch 2 will not only have amazing third-party and indie games, but affordable third-party and indie games. At the end of the day, the option's there.
Then we move on to 2025, and obviously as of me uploading this video, it's still currently 2025. So not much has happened yet, but hey, we did get a couple games, funnily enough. We got Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, which yeah, on paper that doesn't sound good, but we also have a bunch of games coming out pretty soon, like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, Metroid 4 Beyond, and Pokemon Legends ZA. Plenty of games to play on the Nintendo Switch, but outside of that, yeah, not a lot has happened yet, but obviously there's still more to come. I mean, we're only halfway through the year, so I would imagine this list is going to get a lot bigger with the Switch too, so I cannot wait to talk about that when we get to that point. But oh my goodness, to think that we're almost at the end here, and the last major Nintendo Switch 1 game that's coming to the console before the Switch 2 comes out is Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I think that's kind of hilarious, not gonna lie. Alright, this is kind of a little off the cuff, but to be honest, I am really scared for the next generation of gaming. I mean, there's so much controversy going into this new console launch with the tariffs, the pricing, the accessories, the new amiibo prices. Can you guys tell I will not shut up about the pricing? Needless to say, there is a lot of factors going into this console's release, both positive and negative. Mostly negative, unfortunately. I mean, $80 for a Mario Kart game? In what world is that okay? Jokes aside, of course, I'm really gonna miss this thing. You know, it wasn't perfect. You know, obviously there was Joy-Con drift. Obviously, Nintendo is, you know, Nintendo, and they're behind the times on a lot of things, as well as other things that I'm just not thinking about right now. Believe me, though, I'm really excited to re-experience a whole new generation all over again. But I'm always going to be nostalgic for the Nintendo Switch, just because it meant that much to me growing up. And unfortunately, the Nintendo Switch 2 is just never going to replace that because I'm an adult, and at the time when the console released, I just wasn't an adult. So it was very influential to me at the time. And as someone who isn't really the biggest fan of change, even though it's literally just a sequel to an already existing console, it's still a little scary. We're going into the unknown here. That being said, it was inevitable, and as scared as I am for the new console, I'm also very excited for it. I mean, you could say it was time to switch it up. Shut up! No, but I am seriously gonna miss this thing. And again, I'm going really off the cuff here, but there's just never gonna be the words to properly describe just how much this console means to me. Even if it's not the best console out there, the memories I made with it, the friends I made along the way, it's all irreplaceable. But with that being said, this video is long enough and I can't keep dragging this out any longer. So thank you guys for watching. Stay hydrated, stay cool, and I will see you all in another video in the next generation of Nintendo. Bye-bye!